Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please don't tell anybody, but I got injections in my face yesterday. My face is really swollen. So don't tell anybody that I got any work done on my face because I'm really insecure about it and I don't want them to know. If you're watching this on a video, you see it.
She's
if
like
you're
a very
listening,
private and shy person, actually,
I'm like
all around.
super private and shy. And I try not to tell anyone when I got anything done. So if you're watching this on video, then you could switch to Spotify if you wanted, or Apple. Otherwise, you could watch my pretty face share these great thoughts. I'm
your
so
face
excited.
is on Spotify also.
Oh, God.
In fact, the Spotify Q&A, by the way, everybody, Spotify has this new cool thing where there's like, you can answer questions at the bottom of the episode, like on the Spotify app. And I love that because I want to hear from you guys. So I'm trying to like be better about putting like solid questions there.
Awesome.
But the default one is just, what do you think of this episode? You could put any thoughts you want, even when it says that or ever. It's basically, think of it as a comment section, no matter what we put that question in. But the question I'm going to put on this one is, which housewife do you think Jessica looks like?
Do you know, I actually, because when I woke up, I thought I looked so funny. I started Googling the housewives because I was trying to find one. I don't know them, but I was like, Housewives of Beverly Hills, Housewives of Orange County. I'm like trying to find one that I look enough like that I could do a funny, like, or even just add me in, like because there's like these shots that are all of the housewives.
Yeah.
And I think so. Just act surprised if that comes up. Anyway, but I'm Jessica Hover. My friends call me Jess. This is
I'm Layne Sherland, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
And we're so excited you're here. And this topic is brewing as you are watching it come out of us. It just like almost started right before this. And then she was like, nope, we're doing it. And then she turned on the microphone.
Push the button. In fact, let me look and see if I push the button.
Perfect.
Totally did. Crushed it.
Perfect.
It's been so long since I didn't push the button. So this is one of those topics where I'm like, I know I have something I want to talk about. I wonder what I'll end up titling this. Like, how do you say we're going to talk about? But here's the thing. This is just like what it comes out of. I have this like frantic voice note for myself from when I was on a walk the other day where I'm like, okay, I'm having this thought, which is like, I'm making this thing that I think is really cool. Like, you know, this podcast and some of the social media content, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I'm like, here I am like presenting what I know to the world. Like, there's a whole industry of people or people doing in every industry now. And there are some people who I can look at out there where I'm like, I think I would like my thing to be like, kind of like that. Like, I like what they're doing. I think that person's so cool. And that's sort of what it keeps coming down to is like, I think that person is so cool. That person's cool. That person's cool. That person's cool. Oh, I really want to be cool, which is not news. We've always known that I really want to be cool.
I don't want to be cool, and I don't really do anything at all to like maintain an appearance. No, just kidding.
If you're not watching, she's
I'm
really
just
gesturing
my,
at
like,
the
really
Phillies.
swollen face. It won't stay like this, by the way. I'm with you.
So first of all, like, deep drive to be like, when am I going to be a cool kid? And when will people be like, oh, she's cool work. Look at her. Like, I'll say what I do, and then they'll be like, oh, really? Tell me more. And so far in my life, that's been never. Because I say I'm a preschool teacher, which I know is the most punk rock thing you could ever be. Like, it's hardcore life over there. Like, it's war zone.
It is.
It's cooler than being like a war photographer. Like, it's gnarly.
It is cooler.
It's not cooler, but it's intense. It's like
I love it.
Powerful and intense and like really varied and also like kind of spiritual, right? You have these beings who are like new to the world and they're all corralled into this one building that's designed for them. And you just get to be like, what do humans do when they're free? And they'll just say things like I have a friend whose 4-year-old daughter woke up out of a dream the other night looking at a ceiling and she was like, I was almost there. Is what she said. And you get to be like, what does that mean? Like, what is this child experience?
The other
crazy.
Day, Becca's in town and she has I'm about to tell you guys her health problem. She has a health problem where sometimes when she eats, her esophagus closes and then she like has to go get the food out and it's like pretty horrible. And it was happening and she like ran to the bathroom and Eloise was watching and I told her what was going on and Eloise goes, oh, it's like a robot when they get wet. They malfunction. And she was so serious.
That is so cool.
It's so true.
That's the coolest thing, right? Like the coolest of like hot stoner dudes who are out making like cool content and being cool at music, like the coolest people are wish to have that thought,
yes.
right? Like they hope to think about things that are that interesting.
That's right.
Like people pay thousands of dollars to go to Burning Man and be covered in paint, stuck in the mud, like peeing behind bushes.
Ayahuasca retreats.
Preschool. That's preschool.
There it is.
That's preschool. I got paid to do that.
You did.
Right? So like I know that it's so cool.
Yeah.
But when I say I'm a preschool teacher, people go, oh, that's so cute. And then they move on to talk about somebody else's job.
I know.
Oh, cute. And then they talk about somebody else's job. And I'm here to say, it's cute. It's like very cute.
So cute.
It's also cooler than your ayahuasca retreat.
It is.
And it happens every day.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like these grown-ups are out getting high so that they can lay down and watch Bubbles.
Yeah.
Like.
And these kids. Yeah.
It's so cool.
And I relate because I think we all do. There is just this vibe about mothering that is not cool.
Yeah.
It is so uncool that I like feel it when I'm going to go, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my social media feed from being what I have been to being very mom-centered. I'm about to be cute.
Yeah.
I'm about to be uncool.
Right.
And I don't like that. That's so weird. You guys are so cool. I really like you a lot. And you were very cool before you had kids. And you are very cool now. And this is a part of your life that is a major part of your life. So why wouldn't we devote a lot of energy to helping you be well in it?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Obviously. It's the most important thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
And yet I know that if whatever my thing is becomes like those people I'm looking at, and I met those people, even if I achieved whatever they've achieved, and they're like, I do this cool thing in art or in business or in comedy, and I'm like, I do this thing in parenting.
Yeah, they just kind of move through
just this like sinking thing
unless
about
they're
that.
Parents, then I don't know if they'll think we're cool. They'll appreciate, they'll be grateful. That's what I found is like you can get a really, really cool person who doesn't think anything we're doing matters until they have kids and they start to question everything about their life and be like, oh my gosh, I've never, like, this is harder than I ever anticipated. And then they look to someone like you and me and be like, oh, whoa, that really matters. Thank you. I don't know that you are cool, right? As defined by the world, but you are very important.
Right. But what it brings me back to this thing that I've thought about a lot, which is like, why is this being separated out? Like, why is this like started to happen when I was like a very young preschool teacher and like feeling young, like 22, being like, this is incredible. And I suddenly feel myself sort of fading. Before, when I was talking about like anarcho-syndicalism and like, I don't know, political revolutions, people were like, oh, Layne's interesting. Layne's cool. And now that I'm like, all I want to talk about is this like origin space of humanity, which to me is the same, right? Like the discovery I was making inside was like, oh, humanity, humanness, earthness, like rawness, spiritualness, like also freaking science. Like now I understand science because I'm watching 2-year-olds do it. Where before science felt like this other weird, inaccessible thing. And now I'm like, oh, study. You could just like study what is like existence, right? It was so granular, so interesting, so the stuff of art and music
and comedy.
What
is funnier than these
cosmos?
Kids?
Like, yes. So like I'm having this like wild revelation as a really young person, and then being like, but I also see myself fading out of existence. My friends who are photographers seem like they are literally, as people look at them, coming into focus in color. And I feel like I'm doing something way cooler and also related to what they're doing, right? They're just like looking at people through a frame, which is what I'm doing. And these 2-year-olds are looking back at me. They're not even modeling. They're just like, this whole consciousness is pointed at me being like, show me in. Whoa, I'm getting to like introduce the world. And yet I can feel the color draining from me. Like I'm doing reverse Wizard of Oz while like my other friends who are doing like music and photography and stuff, or like whatever or athletics or like cool shit are like coming into focus, and I'm just like fading.
I feel like you're describing motherhood too. And sadly, you're kind of describing what I thought motherhood would be as well.
Yeah.
Which is probably what you thought motherhood would be. I'm sure it's
one of the things that it's like really I'm deep down super scared of like maybe if I already thought I was cool, I'd be like, I can be a cool lady who adds a kid. Sure. But I'm not cool enough yet.
Sure, we're all aspiring.
Make the like, can I make this journey and still retain something? Yeah. I'm sure that's part of
But I do think that is something that we experience, especially as mom in early motherhood, which as caregiver of kids in early childhood, there is a weird thing. I think there is something in society as well where it's just like, oh, what a cute, like a cute kind of, is that, maybe that's an overflow of the fact that kids also are sort of secondary in our world. And it's actually not even the same in Europe when I've gone there, when we lived there in Spain. I mean, this is an example. When I'm pregnant in Spain, which I was pregnant there 2 times with Eloise and Wilson, people celebrate me in public, like openly, or like older couples, oh my gosh, felicidades, and they're like touching my belly. Here it's like everything is sort of, well, specifically LA too. I don't know, maybe you live in a different part of America and you'll say something else.
Would love to hear about that.
Totally. But I think here it's very much like individual first, career first. So your individual kind of identity and the name that you create for yourself, and kids are very much secondary. Like, just you don't want that to take too much away from this thing you're building. And so then I wonder if we give ourselves to like, no, but I'm a mom, and actually I'm so much a mom that if you got on my Instagram, like I talk to moms, or like I started a business, for moms, and it's like they can't even, I mean, I was telling Layne before this started, I was at a show, my friend's a drummer, he's really good, I'm with these people, everybody's like pretty cool and attractive, and I think at a glance, I fit in, we're all around the same age, everybody sort of looks like we'd be friends, until basically it got around to like introductions. And it got to me, and I was introduced as like, this is Jessica. She owns a business for moms and has 3 kids. And it got like silent. And then none of them knew how to relate to me. None of them had kids. Right. But like they didn't, it was just like the cool factor, whatever imaginary cool factor may have been present.
But also kind of the personness.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the crux of it to me, of being like, why is it kid stuff and mom stuff, and then everything else is people stuff, which I think is why I'm so endlessly on this podcast, sometimes even frantically trying to shoehorn in like, but also everyone, but also this is true of like you, and but also this is just like people stuff. Like all of psychology is just like talking about children, but it's cool if you're a psychologist, but it's not cool if you're like an educator, right? Like there's something weird where like the kid things and even like stuff that is made for adults is made out of pictures and videos, and then stuff that is made for kids, and the younger they get, it's just less realism. We like turn it into cartoon, we turn it into clip art. Like even somebody asked a question about prepping their 2-year-old for a surgery that they were going to have on my Instagram, and I was talking to her about that.
Daniel Tiger.
Yeah. Actually, the surgery's today, so we're like lots of heart out to that family. But I was talking about how you should like books are very helpful. It's something that familiarizes this child with all the things they're going to experience, like a hospital gown, some kind of cold tools. They're going to have to put a weird little bracelet on their wrist, which even that, some toddlers are like there's kind of a weird feeling to that. And they could freak out about just like the little plasticky bracelet. And just being like, some things that are visuals for them, so that when they get in there, they could be like, like that thing that we saw. Here's the little mask. You can touch it. It's just like on the show. And was trying to be like, by the way, anything that's books like this for references, like it's better to me if they can be photographs. Those almost never exist. Right. So like at least try to find some books where you make sure that the pictures sort of look like the real thing. Because people can even go so far as to make books that are supposed to be useful for children, but then they draw them in such a way that it doesn't look like real life. Got it.
So they're not even connecting this thing they're seeing to what's really about to happen. That's interesting.
It's the most stark in like animal books where you're like, this is like a really beautiful kind of abstract piece of cartoony art, but you've presented it as though it's supposed to teach children what animals are. Right. But this isn't what the animal looks like. Like it doesn't, they're all like round. It's like a circle cow with circle legs and a circle face and circle ears and a circle. It doesn't look like a cat. That's not what a cow looks like. Sure. I know that you're making a drawing about a cow because I'm grown. Right. But like,
because I've seen a real cow.
Yes, I know what a real cow looks like. But like children have to decipher. Like I've had children tell me like, no, I've been like, oh, look, gorilla in the book. What does the monkey say? And they're like, no,
that's not it.
Yeah, because they know that's not a monkey. Right. Like, but the stuff that's for them gets so separated out. But then we do this lovely thing where we separate out these children and then we scoop all the women who belong with them and put them over in Kid World too. And it's obvious. That seems obvious to me why that would be bad for children and bad for the women who belong with them, and of course, many men as well, and people of all genders get scooped that way.
But not all the men. Not all the men. Yeah. Because I remember thinking when I was in Spain, I met a guy who is a nanny. He's like a cool. I mean, he reminded me of Sean, honestly. Yeah. And he's a nanny, and it was like very cool. And everybody's like, "Oh no way, he's a nanny! That's awesome!" Yeah. So he nannies. He's like a manny, you know. Yeah. But to be a girl who is a nanny is not particularly cool. I mean, it's fine, and you can make a very good job for yourself doing it. Right. But it's not.
Everyone's going to say you're cute, even if you look as cool as Becca.
Yeah, exactly. Like, cool. Oh, cute. Yeah, or you kind of have to defend it. Like, I'm a nanny. I've been doing it for this long. Yes. I work with very cool families in this city.
I'm a professional. I'm an expert in my field. I never say I used to teach preschool. I say my background is early childhood education.
Yeah, because you have
to.
If
you meet me in real life and you hear me introduce myself to people, I do not say I was a preschool teacher.
I mean, that's how
I only say that in mom spaces because moms know that's for real. Like I'll say that like on my Instagram where I already know it's you guys. But if I'm out in the world hoping to not vanish completely the second the words leave my mouth, I say my background was early childhood education. Yeah. Or I'm a toddler expert. Yeah. Like something that tries to lend myself like a frame that you can keep looking at me. You don't have to be like dissolve me as soon as I say the words.
That is so interesting.
So I told you that this was all going to lead to Beyonce. Okay. And I'm circling it back around now. Ready. Because this is what the voice memo was actually about. Because I had seen another clip of Blue Ivy dancing in Beyonce's tour.
And that's her daughter.
That's her daughter. Okay. Who's 11.
Okay.
And Beyonce is behind her dancing, looking sexy as fuck, like as sexy as ever. Really? And I was like, oh, something's happening right now. This woman is presenting her child and not her like adolescent, also dressed sexy daughter. Because there is a world where sexy women are like, now my sexy kid too, and we're both sexy. Yeah. But like, no, this is my child dressed similarly to the sexy dancers around her, but appropriately like a child, right? Like this is not being presented as like, look at this beautiful object. It's like, look at my kid who wants to dance and like be part of what I'm doing. And Beyonce is not dressed like a mom. She's not dressed any differently than she used to. She actually looks maybe sexier than ever in these like hot outfits. I know, I have them too, even as I'm talking about it. While her child is there, like they're in the same frame and the kid looks like a kid because she's the mom of a kid. Yeah. But also she's this very sexy woman. Yeah. And she's just not remotely diminished. At no point was anybody like, this Beyonce tour is less cool than the Taylor Swift tour because the kid is here. No. Like, not even. Of course not. Right. Like, not even a little bit. Yeah. And there, I do want to flag, like, do you have to be the world's coolest, sexiest woman in order to be able to pull this off? Like, that's
quite possibly.
It's asking a lot from us. But I don't feel like I've ever seen this particular presentation of like, I'm still the greatest of all time. Look at me doing my thing. It's not a retrospective tour either. It's not like, because sometimes you get, even I would say like sometimes you see this from women in country music where they're like women who are legendary and they're doing some of their legendary things and then also inviting their kid out to sing. And it's like, but there's still a little bit more of a motherliness to that of like, I used to be this thing that I was. Look, and
historically speaking, I was so something. But Beyonce's like, nope, still am.
No, here I am. This is now. Today. Me now, super sexy, super on top, super boss, the coolest you could be. Try to tell me that you're cooler than Beyonce. Like, try to tell me that you're cooler than Beyonce. Yeah. There's just this image in my brain that I saw on Instagram of like, it's actually big Blue Ivy and you can see little Beyonce behind her and then big Beyonce on the screen.
Beautiful.
And there's no separation there. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's just not, it's not any less. The edges are so defined. It's so silver. It's so sparkly. It's so cool. And maybe that's like a sign of the times that we could be turning this corner. Maybe this is actually just like a demigod showing up for us to be like, you could be this. Right. You could all have this.
I mean, I said recently that I feel like motherhood's being rebranded a little bit. Like I actually wasn't even thinking about the world. I was thinking about my kids, because all 3 of my kids talk excitedly about the fact that one day they could be parents. And it's really like kind of eye-opening, because I was not like that. I was not like, and then I'll get older and I'll have kids. I did think it would be amazing to be a grandma. I like joked like, I am uninterested in being a mother. Being a grandma looks really great. I will do that. And then of course my mom like breaks it to me like, well, in order to be a grandma, you got to go through these steps. So then I did. Luckily, I really love the kids.
A future grandmotherhood.
Exactly. But I think it's very special that kids could look at parents raising kids and be like, oh, cool, I want to do that. And that to me, I'm like, okay, well, something about this looks appealing, and that's pretty miraculous because of how low you can feel on any given day. But I think that probably that like yucky thing you're describing of feeling and looking at the world and feeling like you're diminishing when you bring up that you're a part of this group that's been scooped away because of caring for kids. We all feel that. And it's the exact temptation that happens. Like you have your baby and the societal pressure is immediately to look like you didn't have a baby, but to hold your baby, but don't look like you had a baby. So the baby needs to look like the accessory. That continues on all the way up. And so then it's like, okay, well, be a mom, but like be a cool mom. Be a mom who's like, what's a cool mom? Well, it's sort of someone who doesn't look like a mom or act like a mom, but is a good mom. So do both at the same time, and don't be too tired because you look old, you know?
But also, we're just going to say whatever we want the whole time anyways.
Right. No, exactly. And I think more and more we're like disgruntled about that. And that's very healthy and good. And even the dads in our lives, I mean, everybody, but like I'm thinking of Sean being just particularly frustrated looking at the way women are treated. Or, oh my gosh, I got a comment. I screenshot it and sent it to Sean. It was on a video I made that was called Sex as Moms. And I'm talking, I mean, actually we were talking to you guys for part of it about sex after having kids. And the comment is like, well, congratulations, you won't have sex again. You were, what did it say? Something like you were hot and then you had sex and became a mom and now you're gross and you don't need to talk about this anymore because you're all done. It was just, I mean, anonymous person posting on whatever. But the idea
That's the perfect representation.
It is. Absolutely. It was the idea that I went from being sexy to making the child that the sex actually does make. And then now I am no longer sexy, and it's just simply because I did that.
And shut the fuck up about it.
And be all done.
This is going to be a lot to edit.
Spicy. But yeah, I really appreciate the world's frustration with that. And on my end, and I know on your end, it takes some courage to continue to show up as people who really genuinely care about this stuff and see through like, oh, cute. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. Yeah, it is actually very cute. What I'm doing, I spend twice a week, I'm holding babies. That is like the cutest thing. But what's so powerful about it is taking a woman from feeling totally not well in herself to being healthy and whole and loving her life. And like that's dynamic. That takes a lot of like capacity in our brains to study and figure out what will actually help. Who do we invite in to be a resource? Like, these women were very important before. If we said we just have a whole service dedicated to or business dedicated to the wellness of women, that still would be a little bit secondary. I think the world is nicer to that. Definitely nicer than if we said to moms. But there's just kind of this building that's having to take place where like women are becoming more and more important, and then moms becoming more and more important.
That's
and we just have to keep trying.
In the places where there have been gains in terms of like there being this more like even more just like integrated views on motherhood, like motherhood being more integrated into like regular life, less of that weird, creepy cartoon separation. It's almost like, just to bring it back to the Barbie movie, where they like have to travel from Barbie Land into the real world and then back into Barbie Land and everything turns all the colors.
I never saw it yet, but yes.
Oh my God.
I know that this happens. I know. I can't wait.
You love so much. I would love to watch Barbie with you.
I would love it.
Anyways, you have to go through that same journey to get to kid stuff and mom stuff because we're so far over there in this alternate cartoon reality.
Yes.
But like where that space has gotten narrower, I think it has been because of like the demands of women for respect over time. Like where women are getting more respect, then also a little bit of this is getting lifted up, and that's very helpful. And maybe that's part of that Beyonce phenomenon of her being like, I'm a whole woman.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to stay in my womanness, and I'm not going to be the most famous artist ever in the way that a man would. I'm doing it in my full womanness, and I'm just including this mom stuff because that's part of my womanness.
I love that.
And so I do think like where we've started to lift women a little bit toward the space that we deserve to occupy as like people.
Yeah.
That there's like some motherhoodness and kidness kind of comes up with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a lot more like cool mom content on the internet, which is kind of cool, you know, like DJs and athletes and people like that are having to do a little bit less of like pretending that they're not moms in order to be the other things that they are. And that's cool. What do you think we should do when people tell us how cute we are? Is that the moment? Like, what is the moment where this happens that like we say like, oh, actually, let's like, where at what level does the reframe need to happen? Yeah. In order to like ditch that alternate universe thing and just be like, nope, kids people, women people, everyone like, look at all of us being people, different sizes and stages.
I think part of it has to do with our own view of it. We need to really know that absolutely it's cute, but it's so much more than cute. Yeah. Because a lot of it is just going to come through in like how we relate to the things we do. And if we feel, I'm looking at you guys too, because I think that inside of your motherhood experience, there is that sense of like, I don't know, some insecurity around it or just what do we make of this? So I think it starts with, do we believe that what we're doing is very, very cool? Right. And then, if it's appropriate, like if the moment is there, why not tell them how cool it is? Especially if it's somebody, I mean, we're in LA. A lot of people they're high as kites. You're maybe having a beer with somebody and they're already in the zone. You're like, actually, do you want to know how cool it is? What I'm doing?
Get them when they're suggestible.
Get them when they're already relaxed and they're open-minded and they're looking for, they're looking for some sort of revelation about the world.
Walk the streets looking for the stoners.
I feel like you don't have to walk far. They're just right outside.
It's wafting in the windows at all times.
Exactly.
It's the helicopters and the weed.
I do think it's a really important thing, specifically for small business owners like you and I, but for us in general, to be able to talk confidently about the thing we care about. And so if the thing we care about is motherhood, then perfect. If the thing we care about is supporting the mothers, then perfect. There's something to like, why does this matter? Yeah. And if we can really refine that, and for me, that's kind of a challenge because I'm chatty and because I'm like overthinking everything I'm telling them, but something really brief to be like, this is what I'm doing. Because if you say, I'm a preschool teacher, okay, that's so cute. Like, what do I know about preschool teachers? Not much. I just know that preschoolers are very cute and you guys probably work hard. Now I know a lot more because I've parented preschoolers, but like to the general population, it's what? But for you, when you talk about preschoolers, you're like talking about the origin of humanity. Like to tell somebody that they've never, ever considered little kids in that way. Yeah. And you're not a mom, which makes it even cooler because basically to me, I sometimes am a write-off of like,
Of course you're obsessed with your kids.
Of course you think kids are so funny. Sure. But for you, if you go in and you're like, no, they're amazing. I understand life in a way I never have because of these little guys. To somebody else, they're like, oh, whoa, I've never actually thought of it like that. That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing that advocacy for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and for yourself too. Those like musician people that I met who were like, "Oh, you're a mom, and you have a business for moms." The one guy was like, "Yeah, I wanted my mom to have another kid," and this guy looked like he's in his 30s. I'm like, "That's what we have in common."
Mom, that's so crazy. I had a mom.
That's literally, Sean and I made that same joke when we got home. Yeah. And then like the other guy like turned to his friend and made some joke about like pooping out a baby. And I was like, so I'll go because the level of conversation here is just clearly not for me. We actually obviously don't have anything in common. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a mom.
Yeah. That's so true. Maybe you didn't like them anyways.
Yeah, maybe there is something to little kids can save you from so much. Like if you're in a place and you're like, this is really uncomfortable, you're just like, oh, seems like they need to leave. Sorry, gotta go take care of my kid. Same thing when you're out in public and people are boring. Oh, I gotta go. My kids need me. It's the same thing. The thing that washed you away could also save you from a bad place.
It's kind of a superpower.
Yeah.
I mean, half the time when you ask people if they want a superpower, they say invisibility.
We got it. We've done it.
I just want to be ignored. Sad. It's very sad. I know. It's very sad. Anyways, maybe you could use it for eavesdropping. What else could we use this faded away situation for?
It could be a great time to make sure that my own validation isn't coming from anyone else. Because when I'm invisible, I have my motherhood invisibility cloak on. Then I go, Jessica, do I like me? And I go, yeah, I like me a lot. Or sometimes I don't. And then I have to figure out why not. But if I can sort that out without all of you guys thinking I'm cool, then if you do think I'm cool, I won't get inflated. And if you don't think I'm cool, I won't go on the deflating spiral.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Another really good example of personal power.
Yeah.
That's a good note.
True. Okay, so we got to be more like Beyonce and just own everything that we are. And if what we are is very cute, then we'll own the cute detail too.
Yeah, also boobies. We put our boobies out like Beyonce. Just everybody just put your boobs out like Beyonce. And
I really want to look at the clip that you saw of Beyonce. You should send it to me. Okay. Or post it on our thing.
Oh, that'd be cute.
That would be great.
I'll look for a Beyonce Blue Ivy video for you all.
Perfect.
And then wherever you're listening, unless it's Apple Podcasts, because you don't have a way to talk to us through Apple Podcasts, but by all means, listen through your podcast app. On Spotify or in the comment section or in our DMs or in our community, would really like to hear your thoughts about this, because I know that this is a thing that resounds, because it's a thing I've been kind of talking about for like almost 10 years now, and everybody's like, yeah,
I feel that too.
What is that?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Would really like to hear from you guys about this.
Love it. Love it. Let's be confident people who own who we are. Okay. You guys are great. We'll see you really soon. Join our online community and we'll hang out with you via Zoom once a month, and we would love to know you. And it's really great. And you can ask Layne all of your questions, which you guys have questions. I know, because we see you once a month and you bring all the questions. So come again and bring the questions. And we'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.